Guys, what's up? It's JT here with another video. And in this video, I'm gonna be telling you guys sort of a story, but it's more of a characteristic driven story, I guess you could say, of the first time I bought off this guy named Dread. It was my first dealer of my own, and I held him like he was my own. I mean, I held him like he was a brother, just because it was the first thing I could finally say I could always get weed on my own. And that was why I held so close to him, because I was just like, it was the first time I could get weed on my own, and I've just felt great, just being so fucking independent, right? So I'd gotten this number of this dealer through a friend, and you know, it was ironically, this is like my only dealer, my first one, and it turned out to be some sketchball who was like 20 something years old and lived in a very ghetto part of Miami. So I'd gotten his number off of a friend, and I was just told that he lived in a pretty shady part, but the weed was good and he was available almost any time. Like, you could just hit him up and he was always available. So I was like, okay, sounds good. So I get this number, right? And I was told his name was Dread. That was his name. I mean, I'm not even shitting you. Like, that was his, like, I don't know if that was his name, but like, that was his little code name, I guess. And it was Dread. So I was like, okay, so I guess I'm just gonna contact his list as Dread, but I'll just text him something. So I was like, hey, I got your number off of, a friend. Do you got any? Right, whatever. So I hit him up. And he goes, yeah. He's like, no problem. Meet me here. Without even like going over the quantities, he just already figured out a designated location to pick up, assuming that I was gonna do that. So that was kind of pretty straightforward of him, I guess. But anyways, so he gives me this address to go to. It actually turns out it's actually pretty close to my house, about like 3 miles. So I take my longboard. I'm all excited, right? And I start heading over to this area. I noticed that every mile or so, right? It's about 3 miles away, maybe. Because it would take me on a longboard. It'd take me like maybe 25 minutes, maybe longboarding. So every like mile that we kept going, the houses just kept getting shittier and shittier and shittier. Like, every time I'd go down the longboard, it just kept getting worse and worse, to the point that like 2 miles in, and I'm still a mile away. I'm like, okay, now I'm worried about my well-being here. I'm like, okay, listen, I look like a fish out of water. I have a semi-expensive longboard on me, an iPhone, and a wad of cash in my pocket, getting ready to pick up, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I forgot to mention, I picked up a 1/4 ounce, right? I'm bringing these cargo pants off as it put in. I didn't want to grab a backpack, so I was like, I just put it in my pocket. Okay, big deal. So I have this wad of cash in my pocket, and I'm going down this road. Mind you, it's just a one road. Like, I didn't have to make any turns whatsoever. It's just like I went out of my house and then just went straight down this one road that was kind of like a busy road. And like, it was just weird because I'm going down in this one direction, and I'd gone there for like 3 miles, and then it was like I was like 3 towns over. It was crazy. So I finally meet him in this place, and he goes, okay. I text him. I'm like, all right, I'm here. He goes, yeah, all right, I'm here. And I'm like, okay. I'm seeing a bunch of people walk around, and all these people look like they could be dealers. I mean, everyone looks really sketchy. So I'm looking for some people who are semi-young with dreads. Until I see this guy, and he's with a friend, and he looks like he could possibly be my guy. So I'm like, okay, listen, this gotta be him. So I kind of give him a look. I just look at him. I wasn't staring him down or anything. I just give him a look. The guy looks at me back, and he goes, okay. He gives me a nod. So I'm like, all right, this gotta be him. So I start following this guy. All right, wad of cash now has been taken out of my pocket and is now in my hand. So I now have this wad of cash of $60 ready to go pick up some bud. I'm holding the longboard in my other hand, and I'm just following these guys, right? And I'm like, okay, so I'm getting ready. I'm like, all right, I guess this is a sketchy neighborhood, so I'm not gonna go act all unprofessional and shit. So it's just like, let me just follow these guys and see what comes up, right? So I keep in mind this is him. So I'm walking by, and I just keep walking. 5 minutes goes by, and I'm just like, what? These guys haven't even turned around. Like, what the fuck? So I don't want to say anything, because it's like, maybe he's bringing me to an area that, that's more, discreet, perhaps. And that's what I thought. So I'm like, all right, he's just bringing me to an area where we can do the exchange, and then, we're on our way. That's what I thought, because we're kind of like in a busy area. A lot of people walking around, as I said. So I was like, okay, that's what's going down. So I'm walking by, and he keeps turning at me, and I guess he's checking, because he's checking if I'm still following him, assuming that, he didn't really talk to me. So he starts turning around like every 10 seconds now. And I'm like, okay, well, why the fuck do you keep turning around? He turns around like the 5th time, and him and his friend get really mad. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus, I thought I was gonna get chopped. I mean, it was broad daylight, but I mean, anything could happen in this part of town, boys. So I was really fucking nervous. And they just start talking to me like, yo, dude, what's up, dude? And that's when it immediately dawned on me. This wasn't him. It wasn't him. I was following these guys for 5 minutes, and it wasn't him. And just as like this confrontation is going on, and this whole mishap is going on, along with this wad of cash in my hand that they could easily just grab from me, right, is going on, I get a phone call. And it's him saying he's been waiting at the same area for, for 5 minutes, but I guess I didn't see him, right? So I followed these guys for 5 minutes, and I didn't even get off that guy. So it was just, oh my god, it was just cringe galore. And I just tell him like, oh, misunderstanding, and I figured they'd be cool with it. So I just said, I'm trying to pick up some bud. I'm mistaken you guys for another guy. And immediately they're just really cool. They're like, oh, okay. It's like, no problem. It's like, it happens to all of us. And just like, they ended up being really cool, and they're just like, okay, no problem. So they end up walking down the street, and I just turn around, fucking quickly, just get my wits all together, and I just start longboarding back to where I was. So now I'm back to where I was, and I'm like, okay, now I cannot make this mistake again. Let me call him and make sure I can find someone that's him. So I call, and I'm looking for someone that picks up the phone in the area because there's multiple people walking around. So I see another guy with dreads. I'm like, okay, this has to be him. There's no way it cannot be him. I mean, my luck has been so shit now. Like, just it has to be him. But he's talking while I'm not talking, so it's gotta be him. And as I'm talking, he stops talking. So I'm like, all right, it's gotta be him. So I said, okay, listen, dude, I think I see you. Look across the street. Sees me, gives me a wave down. I said, okay, it's gotta be him. So I look at him. He's pretty tall. I mean, he's like 6'1", 6'2", and he's got long dreads, of course, covered in tattoos, and he's walking a pit bull, and he has this like ghetto, like really fat bodyguard just following him around, and it was so just like really sketchy. And I cross the street and I start following him, right? And I'm walking next to him now, and I'm like, oh, dude, what's up? And I'm like, oh, okay. And we're just talking about the friend that I had gotten the number off of, and it's like, oh yeah, I've known him for a little while now. Yeah, he gets off me every now and then. Good business. I'm like, okay, yeah, good, right? And I'm like, okay, here's the money, and we're still walking. And he goes, no, put that away. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, I guess we're going to a destination here. He goes, just put the money in my pocket. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. Just while we're walking, just throw it in my pocket. I'm just like, Jesus, man, this is just getting so sketchy. I'm just like, all right, fine. So I fucking put the money in his pocket. So I throw it in the pocket. He's like, all right, I'm gonna drop the weed. You're gonna pick it up and go the other way immediately. And I'm like, I'm just like, shit, man. Like, this is just, it couldn't get any more sketchy. Like, I'd prefer it if he just rolled up in some like 1976 Cadillac and just picked me up when we just fucking, just rolled out of there. I would have preferred it in there, or just some white van. I would have preferred to go into a white van at this point, okay? And so I'm just like, okay, fuck it, whatever, right? He's walking his dog, and his dog's giving me a weird look and shit, so I'm nervous about the dog, and I'm nervous about the guy behind him who's following him, who's like his bodyguard, I guess. So I'm nervous about all these fucking things. He drops the weed, I pick it up, I put it in my fucking pocket, and that's it, I'm gone. And, I mean, that was pretty sketchy. I mean, I finished that whole thing, and I'm telling you, I was just sweating, cold sweats of just pure anxiety. I was just so nervous about that whole thing. It was just such an ordeal. Everything from getting the wrong guy and then seeing the right guy and then it being sketchy even when I found the right guy. It was such a horrible experience. But anyways, that's my tall tale for the evening. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you guys want to see videos of this one, similar to this one, and don't forget to leave any comments for any suggestions for videos in the future. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.